So I got everything moved out of this corner. And what I've done is I've been drawing on the wall here where I want my bench. And I've decided on 37 inches for the top, mostly because if I'm going to work on a rifle or something and I'll use, a vise here with the clamps to go up and down, I don't want my bench to be too tall. So that way, when I have some clamps going here and my bench is about this tall, it's still pretty comfortable for me to work on a rifle. If I'm working on a pistol, it's not going to be too far down for me to work on a pistol, and I can always build something up to work on a pistol. While I'm cutting some things, I'm thinking about the top, and what I'm going to do is a butcher block countertop. I'm using some old pallet wood, and I'm going after that industrial look. So the butcher block doesn't have to be perfect. There might be some gaps in there I'll fill in with some putty and stuff like that and make it look good. I'm going to build some other butcher block that'll be basically for me to work on top of. Build a couple of slabs so that way I can beat the hell out of the slabs without beating up the actual top itself. Now, the one problem I have here is obviously nothing is square. Nothing's level. I want to make sure this line is perfectly level. I want to make sure that my top is level this way and this way. That way, if I'm mounting a scope, I'm not sitting here messing around with thumb screws or trying to level a vise or anything like that. I want to make sure everything's level. When I go from here to here, the floor drops about 1/4 of an inch in this corner. So when I do these legs, I need to make sure I'm actually cutting these things correctly. And then when I come out to here, obviously I need to take into consideration what the floor is doing here. But anyways, that is what I've got going on here. Let's stop boring you to death with me talking and start building this first bench. All right, so it's time to build this bench. Now I've done some work ahead of time. As you can see, I got my 4x4s in the corner here and basic layout of the way I want the shelf. Now this shelf is going to come up a little bit. There's going to be about almost 12 inches. There's going to be the next shelf. And what I'm doing is I use those HDX totes for storage. So this will give me 2 shelves that I can put the 7-gallon HDX totes in. But most importantly, this bottom shelf is going to be enough for me to run my magnetic sweeper underneath in case a screw drops. That way I can still get whatever falls off the bench. Now I'm going to be working on ways to keep things from rolling off the bench, but you know what it is? Something always ends up dropping and rolling underneath. So I want to make sure that I can do that. And even if it's non-magnetic, that's enough for me to still get in there with a stick or my arm and grab whatever fell. Now, on the shelves, I want the shelves to be inside the 2x4s. That gives me, a pretty good gap for the overhang. I got 2 inches between the 2x4s of overhang. That way, if I have to clamp something down, I've got room to do that. Otherwise, it would be all the way to the edge, and then I'd have even more to clamp onto. Now, I do have something else I'm going to do in the future. I am going to look at putting T-track into these benches. So I definitely want to make sure I'm leaving room to do whatever I want, and we'll figure out the T-track later. So I got my posts in place here. Now we got to do these shelves. And what I did is I cut some blocks. This will be the height of the first shelf. So I got 4 of these blocks, and what I'm going to do is just kind of pop them there and then put the shelf down, level it, and screw them in. So these are probably not going to be perfectly level, but with one person, this makes it a lot easier. So I've done a bunch of work off camera here. As you can see, I got this top put on, and then I've got the second bench built here. Now this is only a 4-foot bench, whereas this is a 7-foot bench. And the way this works is it gives me 4 foot of working surface and 5 feet of working surface with a corner. So this gives me plenty of room to work. Now what I did here is this is just, the exact same design as this. I took 4x4s. Now I had these extra pieces cut off. I glued and screwed 4x4s here just to fill this gap. And since it was just a filler, I didn't really worry about that this was pieced together, but even then, it's still even glued and screwed at the joint. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 6-inch timber locks. Now I have 5 of these left over from building the deck a couple of years ago. And as you can see, this bench is pretty sturdy. But this one being a little shorter, doesn't quite have the weight. I mean, it's still sturdy, but it can, it still can move a little bit. So what I'm going to do is timber lock these together. I'm going to put 2 in on this one, 2 on the back one, and this should really make this thing nice and steady. All right, there we go. This thing is just not moving. So this thing is nice and solid. So there we go. That's the base of the bench. There's a couple of things I want to do. When I get to the top here, because I have this butcher block that's going to be in sections, I'm going to put 2x4s in here just so I have plenty of place to do the connection. Other thing I got to do is I'm going to take these 2x4s, I'm going to put them back in this corner, which of course you're not going to be able to see very well, but I'm going to put them up against this board here. So that way when I bring this shelf over, I can overextend it into this corner and I have something to screw in. So we're done building the base of this bench. The next thing to do is the top. Now I've already started working on the 7-foot section. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do the 4-foot section here. I got to get some more pallets. I ran out of pallets, but either way, you're going to see this section get completed, and then the process will be the same for the 4-foot section. So stay tuned for the next video about how to make the top for this bench. Thanks for watching. Hope you're staying safe out there. I look forward to seeing you again soon.